Okay, we are up to the two dots. Oh, the last two
Jacob,
dots.
Jacob, 1 second, 1 second. What are we doing tomorrow?
Oh, I meant to look at this mountain before, so we don't have to do this. I thought about it today, and then of course I forgot. No, it's good. It makes me happy that I only forget Torah. I forget other things too. What time is early Shabbos tomorrow?
6 o'clock, I think.
25, but I think the mincha is at 6:05.
6:05 or 6:10, I think.
6:05 is already Brown's early mincha. That's all.
You know, Aaron and Naftali, if you guys are in charge, then you should know the times and give the rabbi some information. You can base the psak on it. You just don't.
Rabar, then you wouldn't be able to make a rebuttal.
He could do it a rebuttal, even if you would just cut to the chase.
Right.
Okay, so 5:10. 5:10. Yeah. And what's the Shabbos? I don't know what time is ice. Probably 9:05.
9:05, 9:04.
9:04.
9:05.
Okay, so 9:05. 9:15. 9:15. Well, it depends. Are the Knicks playing what's the Shabbos if they lose
Oh,
tonight?
it's 9:06.
What's the
If they lose tonight, they play Mutzi Shabbos, I guess.
I don't know. They want to push it to Sunday if or maybe Shabbos afternoon. Yeah. That's a bizyinus. I'm sorry to say that to Philadelphia. My kids told me I'm a bizyinus. What kind of? I mean, this Philadelphia should be. You heard about this?
No.
What?
That they bought 4,000 tickets to keep them away from the Knicks fans.
Oh, I heard something like that. They bought him for all the first responders in Philadelphia.
They're giving out tickets for free on the street in Philadelphia. Can you imagine?
Wow.
What game?
To the game tonight, because too many Knicks fans would come down from New York, and half the stadium was rooting for the Knicks, so they bought out the tickets themselves.
Jacob, they couldn't do that at Chol Hamoed.
You're right. BMG couldn't have I don't know. Don't they have their big shebang over there for the yeshiva? Anyways, okay. So let's see. So we're on the two dots. We're by the two dots. 6 lines up from the bottom. So we said that Rav Nachman said 3 rules by Rivas. And as we go through, we'll try and discuss a little.
Which daf are you on?
Samach Gimel Amud Beis. 6 lines up from the bottom. Oh, you don't got to be all stylish. Yeah, from Rav Nachman. Yeah, so I'm sorry. So Rav Nachman had said 3 rules by Rivas, right? The first one was, and the first 2 were basically very similar, which is that you're not allowed to take money as a prepaid. You can't take prepaid money and give a discount, because then it's basically like lending money by Rivas. Right? It's called agar. The first one's called agar nata. Right? You're getting paid to wait. That's literally what it is. Those were the first. That was the first one, and the second was similar to that, where somebody who paid early, so he gives him a discount, or he gives him more. He gives him more product. Right? Okay, we're going to see more tonight's stuff because there's going to be some kashas. The nuances with these halachas are so fine. Their mamish so fine to know when one sock goes one way and when it goes another way. It's really, to be honest with you, it's a little disheartening to try and understand the the finer points of when it's an issue, when it's not an issue. Okay, so let's see. Hi man, if somebody borrows pshiti, he borrows coins from his friend. And he finds extra coins, meaning let's say he borrowed $50 worth of coins, and it ends up in there. We'll see exactly how much is small change, but there's some small change in there, right? If it's enough that somebody could actually make a mistake, then he has to give it back, right? Meaning we're assuming that the lender wasn't aware of it because it was it's too large of an amount of a mistake to assume that the lender just decided to give more. We love, and if not, then matana ba'alma u'diable. Then if not, then it's just a matana ba'alma, and he doesn't have to give it back. Right? So Hechidon says Hechidon Mikdash Adas. What does it mean? What's the case? Meaning, how much money is it that we're going to say that the das wouldn't give that away? Amar Rav Acha Breder of Yosef on Tamar Aleph be'isuraisa bechumashaisa, with tens and fives. Meaning, basically, that's the way they counted back then. They counted in tens and counted in fives. So Memela, if it was a round, I'm assuming what it basically means is a round number. If it's a round number, so if it's in a location that counted by five, so it's fives. If it's in a location that counted by tens, then it's tens, right? So if it's that much, then it's going to be considered too much, and you have to give it back. Fine. So let's say this guy is a real strong guy, meaning he's a bulvan. This guy collected money from this big strong guy. This big strong guy is a jerk. He never gives anybody anything for free. So what happens if the money was borrowed from that type of fellow? Do you also say that even the smallest amount of change, that the smallest amount of change you don't have to give back? So what else is Amalei Dilma Migzel Gazle? Maybe this tough guy really stole from the lender. From the borrower. And instead of him owning up and saying he wants to pay back for his stolen things, what he did was he says, oh, when I'm going to lend him money, I'll give him a little extra, and that will help pay for the stolen goods. Then even for a strong guy, you don't have to give back the money. The Tanya, if somebody steals from his friend and he absorbs it into in a cheshbon that he owes him, then he's yotza. Then he is yotza. Somebody asked me today. I just thought about it now. Somebody asked me today. He stole money from the rabbin, or I don't know exactly from who. But he paid it back. I didn't ask for more detail. He wants to know: does he still have to ask mechila? And if he does have to ask mechila, who does he ask the mechila from? Right? I don't know. What's the answer to that question? You have to ask mechila too. If you steal something from somebody, you give it back. You have to ask mechila, or is that by definition? Is that by definition a mechila?
I would say not, based on the fact that we said that we make it easy for people to do tshuva when he doesn't have to take the car out of his building to pay the guy back and different things like that. We wanted to make it easy for the people to do tshuva. So
yeah, I think we had a Gemara there. Baita kind of about this. It depends if he can pay it back or not. If it's a rabbin he can pay back, then paying back is the tshuva. If he can't pay it back, then he needs to stand up a rabbin and in as many cases as possible, and basically be mavaza himself.
So what? So what are you saying?
So if he paid it back,
in the case to you today, he doesn't have to ask the mechila.
Right. I hear. Okay, so all right, but
like if someone took money out of a shul pushka or something and then put it back, it's done.
I hear.
No, let's say somebody works for yeshiva. He takes paper, he takes pens. He ate lunch. Maybe he didn't work the hours. Maybe that he should have. So then all these things is it because like what?
What was for lunch today?
There was no lunch today. Behind yourself.
Right. This part is Zev's tshuva talking about.
No, I'm asking. Is it what's the cheshbon? We'll say how does it work?
I think you gave that example in that Gemara when we had a Nagoizel. Those are things that maybe can't be paid back. You would have to ask Mechila Barabim, technically, to even get a kafara.
First, you need to confirm that it's actually a yeshiva, not a personal business. Or a family business.
We're gonna get to that, parents, tonight at some point, hopefully.
Guys, I'm telling you.
Okay.
That was special for you.
I know, parrots, you love me very much, and you're on recording. So I'm going to send it to the right people.
We should stop now before Akiva gets involved.
Yeah, very good. So then the Gemara asks, right? And if it's a person that comes from the world, the loy shok of let's say it's Stam, you go over to a stranger. I don't know if it's a stranger, but meaning somebody who you never dealt with before. Meaning the loy shok of and the guy ends up giving you extra money. So there's no reason to think that he's giving you a present. So again, you borrowed $100, and then when you open up the bag, it's got $105 in it, or $102, whatever the numbers are. All right. So now you never met this guy before. You don't have enough to do with him. So do we also say that he gave you a present? So the Gemara says a very interesting. I would never have thought of this, which is no riot to anything. Maybe somebody else stole from the guy who borrowed the money. And this guy, and this third guy, meaning he said to the third guy, when he borrows money from you, take some of this money and put it into the cheshbon. Meaning he was to him, from this it's masha, you really don't have to ask the chiyuv. Right? Saying one guy stole from another guy. Right? He doesn't want, it sounds like he doesn't want to own up to it, or he wants to make sure that he pays him back. So what do you do? He goes over to a third guy and says, when this fellow borrows money from you, here's a few dollars, throw it into the loan, and that'll be and then that's an easy way for him to return the money. Oh, there was no mechila asked for.
Maybe there's a slight difference in this case. It seems like the Migzal doesn't even know it was stolen from him. In the case where he doesn't know.
Right. Yeah, that's the case, yes.
No, but it could be that asking for Mechila is based on whether he knows. If he knows, then he was hurt personally, then you would have to ask Mechila for the hurt. If he doesn't know, then just giving it back would be okay. There's nothing to ask Mechila for.
Right. He doesn't know who stole it from him. If he's missing $2, he doesn't know who took it.
Which seems from these cases that he doesn't even know the money was stolen from him.
Right.
So then there's nothing to ask Mechila for.
Why not?
For what?
You ba'avel the guy. You stole money from him.
You did. That's the point. You stole money, but you didn't ba'avel him.
Sure,
he doesn't know it was stolen.
Well, but so what? But he went to his bank account. He had less money. Just because he doesn't check his bank account doesn't mean you didn't cause him. You didn't steal from him. No.
But
you're saying you only have to ask mechila based on that he's feeling bad about something like that, but just stop him from taking.
Well, no, if he's feeling bad based on something I did, in other words, I caused him pain, or he feels that I caused him pain. Everyone feels pain, Stam. Doesn't refer back to me. That I would have to ask Mechila for something that refers back to me. This doesn't.
This gets into the machlokes. Do you ask the guy Mechila if he said lashon hara on him? Right? Should you go ask Mechila from a guy that said, I think the Chavetz Chaim says yes, and Yisrael Salata says no.
Chavetz Chaim says yes.
Chavetz Chaim says yes. I'm pretty sure if Yisrael Salata says no.
Doesn't the Chavetz Chaim say yes based on Rechilas? So it is personal?
I don't know what it's based on.
I think he says somewhere, no? Doesn't he say somewhere that because most of the time there's Rechilas involved?
Could be.
What is Rabbi Yisrael when he says no? On what basis does he say no?
Because you're going to make it worse. Same case here. You stole from the guy. Don't go. I said masha from this Gemara like that. L'chayra. Yeah.
So what, you stole from him, you just should send him an envelope, anonymous.
Yeah, that's all. What do you have to make a whole fight for?
Right. Give it to a guy who's going to lend him money. You find out the guy's lending money. Say, hey, you're lending him money? Here's a few more dollars. Throw it into the loan and give it to him and zagas him. You're putting. Again, I don't. It's mashma like that. It's mashma like that from this Gemara.
Remember when we were bachrim together and you thought you bought 3 cheese Danish from the bakery and then you only had 2 and you got Yitaka had 3. I stole one from you 26 years ago and you couldn't give your Zaidi a cheese Danish. And that'll make the guy that'll make wondrous happiness in the base measures 26 years later.
Oh, that was you. Right. Yeah. Anyways, okay. Amar of Kahana. So Kahana said, you were about 8, 9 lines down. Amar of Kahana.
No wonder why the Zayden went bankrupt. There was no more, they took the Danish.
Okay, Amar of Kahana.
Zemi, that's what you had a problem with, not the 26 years ago when he was a bacher?
Yeah.
Where's the mute button? Where's the mute button?
Rachamim, it doesn't seem like you have the right side up button either tonight. Oh, there you go. Okay. Okay, Amar Rav Kahana. Yeah, have a Yisivna Bashili Pirkei de Rab. I was sitting at the end of the parak, means the drasha of Rav. Right, which means he came at the end and he didn't hear the beginning. Right? So Vashamas the Amar Kari, and he heard that he said Kari. He kept talking about Kari, gourds. Had no idea what he was saying because he missed the first part of the drush. Basar to come Rav, after Rav got up, Amri Lahu, I said to them, my Kari to come Rav, what's he talking about with these gourds? Amrullah, they told me, Hachi Kamar Rav, I have no idea why the Gemara is being marich in this. I'm not complaining in Hazel Nesher that there's a few lines, but I don't know what. I went to him and then I came back and then whatever. I came late and then I heard this, so I went over to the guys after they were finished. A whole lot of shakla here for what?
This is the Milsa B'dichusa.
You think so? It's not b'dichusa.
Maybe. It reminds me of a famous mice from Gates and Yeshiva when the Leib Gurvitz was Rosh Yeshiva. There's a big Litvak. So his sins were sins. There was a Sardi Bacher who came from Algeria or somewhere. He came to join Gates and Yeshiva. And for Shteter, he didn't know an ounce of Yiddish. So he used to go and ask the other Bacher. He wrote down the Yiddish words that he used that he didn't know. And he asked the Bacher afterwards. They're learning Yavamas when he got to Yeshiva. And every shiur, he had this, it's just this. He goes to ask after 3 shiur, and he asks like 4 Bacher, what's this word? It's this. Until finally someone comes, he's just saying, HSI.
Very good.
No, you can't beat that English sense of humor, boy.
It's it. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm released. So they said to me, Hachi Kamri Rav. This is what Rav. Hachi Kamri Rav. This is what I'm saying. Hi man, the Yov Zuzi Legina Akari. He gave Zuzim, right, to the gardener for gourds. The Kaazli Asara Kari B'nei Zarta, and it went. There were 10. How do you say it? 10 gourds, right? 10 gourds, B'nei Zarta, and the small ones, 10 small gourds, right? Was for a zuz. And then so that's how much he wanted to buy from the guy who owned the vegetable guy, from the farmer. He wanted to buy 10 small gourds for a zuz. B'nei Garmida, I'll give you later. Rashi says, I'll give you in, I don't know, a month from now, let's call it a month from now, much bigger gourds, the size of an amma, but you got to pay me now. Meaning, pay me now, right? He's prepaying. He's telling, prepay me now, and then I'm going to give you gourds in a month from now that are going to be much bigger. So, from yesterday's daf, we should know the answer to this. Isnahu, right? If he has the gourds, if he has the big gourds, right? Shari, then it's mutter, right? Because we said you're allowed to prepay if the guy that's selling it or lending it or selling it has the product in his hands, and it's mutter. But less no, if he doesn't have it, then it's also, but it's also out, because basically you're giving the guy money early, and he's basically going to use this money, and the way he's going to pay you back is by giving you bigger gourds. So the Gemara says, Pshita, it's Pasha. We learned that yesterday's daf. What was the chiddush? Mao the same must mean what was Rav's chiddush? Mao the same. Kivan the Melaka Rabu, since small gourds eventually grow into big gourds. That's usually what happens. So Shaper Dami, it's considered like he has big gourds because these small gourds that the guy's paying for right now, they will eventually grow as long as they're still attached to the ground. So maybe that's considered like it's in his hand. Kamash Malan. So it teaches us that no, until he has to actually have the big gourds in his property. Yeah. So the Gemara says, "Kiman, who's this going like?" The Tanya goes like this. Tana, if somebody is going to milk his goats, and to take off the, how do you call it? To share the wool from his sheep. Excuse me. Bilirdo says kavarata, or to take down his beehive, to take the honey. I'm sorry, out of the beehive. So he's about to do it. Matzu Chaveroi, his friend finds him. And he says to him, Masha easy, and meaning the farmer tells him, Masha easy chaleves machor. Whatever my goat gives off milk, I'm selling to you for a price. Meaning, but he doesn't say an amount of milk. He says, whatever milk I get out of my goat is going to you. If you give me whatever amount of money. Whatever wool comes out of my sheep is going to be yours too. Whatever my beehive gives, it's also sold to you. Mutter, it's mutter to do this. It's mutter to do this. Avo. Now you're going to see. Well, why should it be mutter? He doesn't have the milk. He doesn't have the wool, and he doesn't have any of it. Right? It's not here in this world. We said you can only do prepayment if you have it, but this he doesn't have. Yeah, so we'll see weiter.
Yeah, but he's taking a risk.
Exactly. So that's going to be the.
So I'm saying it's not like he's being placed like a specific amount. It's not agar or not. It could be he's going to make. He could be he's going to lose.
Correct. Yeah.
But so why is it not a smachta at that point? It's almost like he's gambling.
Well, then I don't know, because then every business is a gamble.
No, I know I'm buying $10 worth of goods from you. If I go into Gourmet Glatt and I buy $10 worth of goods, I'm buying $10 worth of goods.
It's not. We're not retail. They're talking about wholesalers and business.
Even wholesalers. No. When you buy wholesale, you know what you're buying ahead of time.
In certain cases, you don't. That's the case the Gemara is talking about. That's all.
I understand, but that's an asmachta. If you don't know what you're buying ahead of time, that's an asmachta.
No, some of it's willing risk. If I buy 100 pounds of potatoes for Puggles 1 week, I know there's going to be approximately 5 to 10 pounds of waste.
Yeah, that's built into when you buy potatoes. Here, he has no idea how much he's going to be shearing. He's never seen these animals in his life. You know, when you're buying potatoes, there's an amount of waste. That's very different.
He doesn't know how much of it's going to be wasted.
He saw the sheep. Doesn't say he saw the sheep. He was going to milk his goats. He didn't see the sheep. He says, "I'm going to do this. You want to buy it?"
He said, imagine he's there.
What?
I don't know. I thought he was there. Maybe not. But it's the standard. But people shear sheep when they get to a point. There's an average where people are willing to pay for an average. Yeah, there's risk involved. There's an average.
Well, that's the way Rashi. Okay, but Rashi says pshat. What I keep saying. That's what Rashi says. Since the guy is taking a risk, because it could be it'll make less milk than he anticipated. It could be it'll make more milk, or have less hair or more hair. So therefore, it's not considered agar nata. Okay, that's case number one. But if the farmer said mashi easy chalvos kach v'kach machalach, that he's selling him in a certain amount, and he says, "I'll give you a gallon." Or I'll give you an ounce of wool, or an ounce of honey. Or what from the hair. That's usher. Because he gave an amount. So there was no risk. Since there's no risk, so that's considered agar nata. But even though the milk comes by itself, and the wool comes by itself, and the honey comes by itself, even the less nuba he shata, it's since it wasn't in existence at that time, so it's also. So Mela, the same thing with what we said that Rav said about the gourd. Since even though the small gourd will eventually grow into a big gourd, but right now he doesn't have any big gourd, so we go with what it is right now. That's
And
one.
we have a sheet that the hair being there is enough to consider like it's already sheared or something. We got like Nazir.
Yeah, we said something like that by Nazir.
Yeah. So why would it not say? I mean, forget about. I don't know about the other two cases, but the Geisers part.
Yeah, but first
here it's not Oimid Ligzos.
Well, because he's not cutting it yet. You're saying?
Yeah.
What's considered Oimid Ligzos then?
If he's responsible farmer, then he shears it when it's ready to be sheared. Before that,
so
not.
Him going to shear it, wouldn't that indicate that it's Oimid Ligzos?
Well, I thought the going to shear is really the first part. The second case is when he's not going. But I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
The Teres Chaim has a nice long piece on this. Everybody should take a look at it after shir.
About what? I don't think.
Why the Brisa says he's going to go do it? Why doesn't the Brisa just say that he sold him a future amount? And he talks about where it's Oymen Ligzais and what's the difference between the two cases.
Oh yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, because there's some touches over here about a Gemara later on about.
Well, it's
about Pardesa, where it's some with his field. So
yeah, we should have done that. I was thinking having Charata. We should have done the Mishnayos of Ezer and Nesher before did the pair. Would have been very helpful. Okay, Igadami another pshat. Amar Rava Kiman de Memela Karabu Shaper Dami. The other pshat is exactly what we're saying. The opposite. Meaning, since it's going to happen anyways, since they're going to grow anyways. So then it's as if it's in his rishus. Well, Tanya Kachla Kachasar, but that Brisa says that if he sells him a specific amount, then it's going to be also. They're not growing from what is in existence. The shakli le lahai, right? Because you could take the milk, or the wool, or the what was the other one? Honey, right? And you can put another one in its place. Hacha, meaning it grows some wool, you can cut it off and grow new wool. Hacha minei karabu. Here, the large gourd is coming from the small gourd. The chishakli lahai, because if you're going to take away the small gourd, you're not going to be able to replace it. So mamela, it's considered the small gourd with the big gourd is considered like as if it's the big gourd is in existence, and therefore there will be no ribbis. Okay, so we have two different shitas, two of the opposite shitas of this case with gourds. Fine. Amar Abaye. Abaye said, "Shari leinish lemem lechabre." A person can go tell his friend, "Heilach arba zuzi, achavisa dechamra." Here's 4 zuds for a barrel of wine. Itakva b'reshuseh. If it goes bad, meaning if it becomes like vinegar, then it's in your reshus. I get back my money. That's fine. Yikra izayla b'reshusi. But if it just the price goes up or the price goes down, then I'll be responsible. So meaning in a way he takes half responsibility and half not. He's not taking responsibility for the price of the barrel to go down. That he's not doing. I'm not sorry. He is doing that. He's taking responsibility for the price to go down or to go up. Obviously, he hopes it goes up. But if it goes down, he's taking responsibility for that. But if it goes sour, that he's not taking responsibility for. Some of the Rav Shavi Labaya, so Rav Shavi said to Abaya on Talmud Beis, Hi Karav l'schar v'rachik lehefsidhu. That sounds like something that's karav to making money and very far away from a loss, which we're going to see in a few blot later, right? That if you can't, somebody who does a deal that it's almost a no-brainer deal where he's not taking too much risk, So that's an interesting lashon. He's a Russia. He's a Russia that sort of takes ribbis, because since he's not being makabel the achrayis, right? So Mamela, it's not considered a fair deal, right? It's basically like a loan, so it's like he's doing ribbis. So
Meaning what? If you don't do your proper due diligence?
No. If you're trying to do a deal, right? And you're saying, oh, I'm just not going to, if it gets sour, like in this case, and it gets sour, I'm not taking responsibility. So what are you doing here? That's not, what kind of purchase is that? Right? Essentially, what you're doing is you're giving the guy some free money, and then he's going to have to give it back to you once his wine goes sour. Right? So that's what he was thinking, is that's something wrong with it. But that's a little different than this, right? Because here, the Gemara, that's what the Gemara is going to answer. Here, he did take some of the risk on. He only didn't take the risk if it goes sour. But he's willing to take the risk if whatever it is, there's an abundance of wine and then it drives down the prices of wine, that he's willing to take, which is the Gemara's answer. Meaning the Gemara Havamina thought that because he's not willing to take the risk of the wine going bad, so then what kind of deal is that? And then the Gemara is going to say, no, he is taking risk. That's what it says. Amar lei, kivan the makabel lei zula kar, kivan the makabel lei zula, since he's makabel on himself, when it goes, that it'll go down, karav lezehu, then that's considered a karav lezeh. Meaning there's enough risk involved. Right? Yeah. So that was the Havamina, that's Maskana. I mean, whatever, that was the Kasha, that's the text. Fine. Talk to Mishnah Vaita. This is a shtickle to repeat this stuff from Bava Kama. Took me a while to chap. Oh, that it was a repeat from Bava Kama. So Zok the Mishnah. Hamalvas Chaveru, somebody who lends money to his friend, Lo Yoder B'chatzei Rechinam, you're not allowed to live in his house for free. Right? And you can't rent from him for cheaper, because it's ribis, right? This is your classic case of ribis. You borrow some money from somebody, right? And then the guy says, I need a place to sleep for a week. And you normally will never give him a place to sleep. And now you give it to him and you don't even charge him. So then that's ribis. Right? Because the only reason why you're letting him stay by you for free is because he lent you money.
Why didn't I card the top?
Is it?
That's the gezerah of ribis.
When are you over? Let's say at the end of the week, you say, I borrowed $100 and would only paying you $60 because it costs $40 a week to rent this house by Airbnb. So then maybe he wouldn't be higher. You don't know till he finishes if he's charging him or not.
Well, I'm saying
the owner of the house borrowed $100 from his guest, right? That's the case.
Okay, you're gonna say it that way, fine. Yeah.
And you're saying it's ribis, but you don't know it's ribis till when the guy's going to leave. If he pays him back the $100, he said, "I'm only paying you back $50 because you used my $50 worth of my property." Then it wouldn't be ribis. You wouldn't know it till they finish the relationship. That's all I'm saying.
No, but let's say Hitaka waives the fee, so then it's ribis. That's what the Mishnah is saying. No,
not if he doesn't give him back the money.
Isn't the lender? Isn't the borrower? The borrower is the one that owns the house, right? Not the lender. So the borrower borrowing money, and the lender is not allowed to stay in the borrower's house for free.
Lender is not allowed to stay in the borrower's house, right?
Why not?
Well, if
you don't know it's ribis until they finish and he pays him back the whole money. Otherwise, why is it ribis?
What do you mean?
That's how we paid him back the loan. That's how we paid him back the loan.
It says
it's not there. It's not ribis there. It's ribis there. But we expect him to pay back the loan. He's not going to. We're not counting on him paying back the money in the form of living rent.
You're saying that.
All I'm saying is you don't know till it's finished. I'm not saying any big genius things. That's all I'm saying.
Good, so but when it's finished and they don't structure
and he pays him back the whole money, then it's ribis. Otherwise, it's not ribis. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, that could be. Okay, even though maybe that gets into the machlokes from yesterday's Gemara. If it's not vadei ribis, maybe then we don't say that it's also. Right? It could be in that. In your scenario, I was looking at another way. He lent the guy the money. You met him in shul, and he says, "I need $100. I got to pay for my car or car repair." Right? So I need $100. Then the guy knocks on the door an hour later and says, "Hey, I need a place to sleep." He says, "Sure, come into my house. You lend me money. Come into my house and stay here." That would be, you can't do that unless you have a gemach and you let people stay in your house for free. But if the only reason why you're letting them stay in the house is because of he lent you money, that's not allowed. Now, I've totally asking a good question. What happened to Koros Atay?
That's like far-fetched. I lend the guy money for he needs something. He flew into town. He wanted to borrow my car for the day. I can't lend it to him.
So the bottom talks about it. He asks, "Well, that means you can never do a taiva for anybody. That you ever bought bigger things, avshamilsa, and things maybe you wouldn't do, or maybe you're doing achvas alone."
Right. So we're going to see it more over the next.
There is ways to get around it, like Taisa says.
Well,
we might discuss it. B'nechaisa.
Correct. So you have to basically.
You have to do a deduction.
Well, yeah, we'll see that more in the next Amid. But meaning the point is that you can't do anything extra, even a thank you. You're not allowed. You're allowed to say thank you, but nothing more than that. You're not allowed to do anything more than you would normally do. Is not allowed. That's all. That's the din of ribis. Yeah. So let's see.
So anybody who lends somebody money, you cannot do anything for him?
Correct.
More than you normally would do.
What does that mean, more than normally?
Normally, you lend a guy your car, you could still lend him your car. If you won't lend him your car because you don't like the way he drives, and now he lends you money, you can't make the exception to lend him your car.
But if you give him a chashuva aliyah in shul just because he lent you the money, then that could be a problem.
Sure, that's also yeah.
That's not lending. That's not. Is that giving anything?
That's a good question because he's not giving.
It's a shayla. It's at least a shayla to ask them.
He's giving
that is a major. Then that's a major problem because anybody who gives money to yeshiva or lends money to a meisid, he's the one who's getting their liyas.
Right. So now we have to find out if there's ribis to a meisid.
There's no lending money to a meisid. They get it back.
That's right. There's no lending. It's only giving. One-way ticket.
Let's say the gabbai borrows. Let's say it's an interesting question, Ben. You're asking if the gabbai borrows money.
So they talk. I don't remember. I don't remember. I'm just saying as an example of doing it solely because you borrowed money.
Right.
Like what we're saying, more than ordinary.
Doesn't the mechaber bring even a sheil shalom?
Yes, you can. You can't even do a sheil shalom if you normally wouldn't say hello.
Why is giving a guy an aliyah anything to do with? It's nothing. You're not giving him what you're not. What are you giving him? Covers is garnish. It means nothing.
It's garnish.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
What is the word thank you?
To get aliyahs. Why is it garnish?
What's the word thank you?
What?
What's the word thank you? You can't. If you say thank you, it might be ribis.
Only if you normally wouldn't say that.
No, I'm saying. So what's a thank you?
Later on.
Whoever that guy is, he got it.
Okay, we're gonna see more about this. We'll see more about.
I don't know, Reb Zev. If me and Reb Danish walk in and you give me the aliyah over him, I don't know if people would be happy. You know what I mean?
Who's that Danish? Fuchs?
Danish? Who's Danish?
Fuchs, I think it's
Barish.
Oh, Barish.
I'm saying if a guy needs
he built his own base measures because covered means nothing. He wasn't happy to be a multimillionaire. He has to be a rov now also.
All right, we don't have to
but
talk.
Covered doesn't mean anything.
Well, no.
Reb Aaron, I'm in the same boat also.
We know, parents. We know that. It's not that you don't have enough that you don't have enough that you're a Talmud Chacham and a Paisik and has a hashgacha and drinks 30-year-old scotch. You have to have a base medrash also. We know that about you.
Although
we know that.
Don't you get Revi though?
And eats $300 a pound beef jerky. We know that about you already.
Dev, are you trying to say that it doesn't have a fixed monetary value?
Yeah.
Okay, but it has value.
Has value to a person that it's valuable to.
Right. That's Ribbis. That's the person we're dealing with. We're not dealing with anyone else.
You're not giving the guy in Aliyah the guy who doesn't care about it. Because he doesn't care about it. You're only giving it to the guy who wants the kavod.
Is that considered Ribbis Minatar?
No.
No, yeah, no.
It's no worse than Ribbis Devarim, which is the Rabbanan.
Yeah, and it's all plates. It's not Ketsutza. It's all the Rabbanan. Don't worry, Zev. It's all the Rabbanan. Also, see, if you got no money like me, you don't got no problem. I'm not lending anybody any money, so I got no.
Zev,
I'm
you keep the 8 day
in 3.5 years. In 3.5 years, you guys don't stop. I mean, you guys just keep going.
Yeah.
Zev, do you keep the last day of Pesach? It's only
if I had a complex, I would have left this shit 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's tough. We're hoping you can grow one.
It's tough when you're the only Cohen in the shul.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyways, back. So now, okay, the point is that you're not allowed to give anything extra to the guy who lent you money. So I'm thinking about Amar of Yosef. He doesn't know from that Rachman, I don't think. Amar of Yosef Amin Yume, Amar of Nachman. Right, we said again, this is without getting into this whole sugi again. This is a zen and a zeloi chaser, right? Even though we said that somebody who lives in his friend's yard without his knowledge, he does not have to pay him, right? So that's zen and a zeloi chaser. But if he lent money and he was the dar b'chotzer and he lived in his chotzer, tzarich lahalas esad, then he has to pay, right? Meaning normally you stay in a guy's house and fine, but if you lent the guy money, then you have to pay him. So it says, "My kamashmal, what's a chiddush? Chanina malvas chaveri lo yada b'chatzei rechinam." It's our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says, if you lend somebody money, you're not allowed to stay in his house for free, in his yard for free. And you can't give him a better deal. You can't rent him for less money because it's ribbis. So what are you saying? What's the chiddush? So when it says, if from our Mishnah, it's only if the guy has a chutzah that he normally rents out. He has an Airbnb. And it's a person who normally pays for things, meaning he's a person, he's not a squatter, meaning he's a guy who normally pays for his hotel stays. But if it's a chutzah that's normally not rented out, meaning the guy, it's a vacation home and he doesn't ever rent it out. And a person who doesn't normally pay for living, right? So I would say maybe you would have no problem with it, even though he lent him money. We're saying that since it's a chashash of ribis, if the lender stayed in the guy's house, whether the guy rents it, he doesn't rent it, whether the lender normally pays rent, doesn't pay rent, he has to pay rent now because it looks like ribis. Right, so that's the chiddush. Ikadamri. Some say
in the chiddush in the maskana, and oy is the vav v'gaver deloyavid lemeger. Is that an oy or an and?
I'm not sure.
Because katza. The chiddush becomes much more than what we had in Bava Kama.
Well, it doesn't say that in Bava Kama. I just assumed it said it that way.
No, because the zanen of zel loy chaser was chaser deloy kaimel agra v'gaver de'ovid lemeger, or chaser de kaimel agra v'gaver deloy ovid lemeger. But not both knows. That's zel loy nen of zel loy chaser.
Right. You say okay.
It's a much bigger chiddush.
Doesn't the Gemara Bava Kama go through both stadim? Now that you're saying that,
yeah, the Gemara brings all four cases. The Gemara says there's no havamina. The zel loy nen of zel loy chaser should pay, And here we're saying the maskana here is that Zeloi Chaser has to pay in order for it not to be rivers.
Right. Right, I hear. That's I don't know. I feel like the one on Bava Kama did go on through that. Okay, fine. Igadari, some say the other way. Amar Rav Yosef Bar Menumi, Amar Rav Nachman, Al Bisha Amru. Even though they said Hadar b'chatza chaver shalomi daita ein etzarach la'alas eschar, that if you stay in somebody's house, you don't have to pay him. Halveni v'dar b'chatzeri, but if here it's a different case. Before it was what was the lashon before? Halvehu. But here the guy tells him, if you lend me money, then you could stay in my house. Right?
Wouldn't that be a deraisa? That would be ktsutza.
Right? So then that's what we're going to say. Then the guy has to pay. You cannot stay in the guy. Then you cannot stay there. So again, there's two. The first shot is where the loan was already made, and then the guy comes to stay. The second shot is that the guy asked him to lend him the money, and then if he lends him the money, he could stay in his house. Well, if you hold that if the loan was already done, and then the guy asked to stay in his house, and it's usher, so then kol shekain, it's going to be usher where he tells him in the first place to lend money. But the one that says that it's also halveinu, but halveinu is not necessarily a problem. My time, what's the reason? Because since in the beginning that wasn't his das, meaning he didn't lend him money on the condition that he's gonna stay in his house, that he'll let him stay in the house free. So then then we have no problem with it. Right. So again, it's the two different shatim, whether this din applies to somebody who had it arranged from the beginning that he's going to stay in his house for free. But if it wasn't arranged from the beginning, then it would be okay.
Is that would that be Rivas Ksusa? Would that be Asur Midaraisa?
Yeah, that's what Gershon just said. Yeah, I think Gershon, that's what you're saying, right? Yes, it's a shaila in the Paiskin whether that's considered Rivas Deraisa or not, because I think he's not giving tangible. He's not taking something tangible, meaning could be Rivas Ksusa, he has to take something back from him.
Right, it's only his shamshis over here. He's using it, so maybe it's not.
Right, it's not the. But that's a tumult. That's a tumult in the post. Fine. Rav Yosef Bar Chama Tokif Avdi. This is also in Bava Kama. Rav Yosef Bar Chama Tokif Avdi the Inchi the Masav Uzuza. People owed him money, right? Masav Uzuza means people owed him money. He would grab onto their avodim and take the evidence. And he would basically, if somebody owed him money, he would go grab the guy's slave and work the slaves. But he would pay them. We're going to see he would pay them, and he would pay them for it. So Rava, his son, told him, "My time over marhachi. Why'd you do this?" Right. Now you have in the Hilchos Kibbut of Aim. How could he go after his father like this? That's a whole different shayla, right? He's saying to his father, "My time over Marachi, why'd you do this for?" Because you're really not allowed to question the father like that. Okay, Amalei.
Yeah, you put the word "mar" in, so it's okay.
Well, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. Yeah. But anyway, so Amalei. I mean, obviously it was okay. The question is how it was worded, right? Amalei. I know Rav Nachman's really. I hold like Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman. Abdun nohim kreise lo shavi. A slave doesn't even kreise means a stomach. He doesn't even eat the amount. Meaning he eats more than he works. Right? So that's sort of what people tell their kids before Pesach. You gotta at least do help out enough in the house that it justifies how much you're going to eat. Right? I'm saying, but he's saying that the evidence doesn't. Normally, they don't do that. It's not even worth it. So I'm not even costing the guy anything. I'm actually saving the guy because I'm feeding his slave, even though I'm working his slave, but I'm feeding him, and therefore he's not even losing. Amalei, so he sold him back. He told back his father, going Dari Abde. That was only about Dari, his slave. The market Bekubi. Basically, what he did was he was a dancer in the bars. He wasn't really worth much. He was just entertaining people. So Avdi Achrini mi Amar, but by a regular slave who actually works, did he really say that the slave is going to eat more than he is going to produce? Amalei said, "Ano ki hadu Rav Daniel bar Rav Katina Amar Rav Sriyu." He says, "I hold like Rav Daniel bar Rav Katina, in the name of Rav. The Amar hatoykef avdish chaver v'asal by malacha potter. Somebody who grabs the slave of his friend because his friend owed him money, he's potter. Meaning it's talking about when it was an off day. Let's say a Sunday is Eved's off day, so the guy takes the Eved. So he says he's potter on Tomer Aleph. The Nichalei the Loi Nisteri Avde, because he's very happy because a bored person is no good. So he's very happy that his slave was working, so that he shouldn't become a lazy person. So Amalei, so he said back to Hani. That's only when, meaning you can go take a guy's slave and work him. That's when the guy whose slave that you're taking doesn't owe you money. Mar, even the Masik Zuzi, Merci Karibis. But since this guy owes you money and you went and took his slave, and then eventually you're going to get paid back, so everybody's going to say, look at that. That's ribis, right? He's lending him money, and he's taking his slave because he lent him money. He's taking his slave. The Amar of Yosef Bar Yomi, Amar of Nachman, Ava Pisha Amru Hadar B'Chatz Chaver Shalem Yitayta Ein Tzarich Lalos Eschar. Even though he said a guy who lives in his chutz of his friend, he doesn't have to give him schar. Haveu B'Dar B'Chatzera. But if he lent him money, and then the guy comes to stay in his chutz Tzarich Lalos Eschar, you have to give him schar because it looks like ribis. So same thing here. You cannot be taking people's slaves if they owe you money because it looks like ribis. So Amrilei. So he said to him, and he gave in to his son. He says, Hadribi, okay, I'm not doing it anymore. Right? I'm taking it back. And I'm not going to do this anymore because you're right. Because it looks like ribis. Okay. Yeah, we'll stop over here. Okay, this is semi understandable. Semi understandable.